bright morning everyone. I am Stanley Borja from Group 2. Our lesson is about Rizal'S annotation of Succesos de las Islas Filipinas. So, let's start our lesson by knowing the annotation of Antonio Morag'S Succesos de las Islas Filipinas. The Succesos de las Islas Filipinas, which translated in English is Events of the Philippine Islands, it is one of the important books in Philippine history authored by Antonio Morag'S. The book contains the early accounts of the Philippine Islands. It was published in Mexico in 1609. The book was annotated by Dr. Jose Rizal, and it plays an important role for the realization of Filipino identity. The book narrates the history of wars, intrigues, diplomacy, and evangelization of the Philippine Islands. The book was laboriously hand-copied by Dr. Rizal in London at the British Museum Reading Room. So, nagka-idea na ta about sa book. So, let's delve more into knowing who wrote the book. Antonio de Morag'S, who wrote the book, he was a Spanish conquistador, administrator, and author of the said book. Dr. Jose Rizal and modern historians have noted that Morag'S Succesos de las Islas Filipinas has a definite bias, distorted facts to fit his defense of the Spanish colonizations of the Philippines island. So, na-notice by Jose Rizal and modern historians that Antonio de Morag'S narrates in the book, it was a bit biased and mas ginakampihan niya pang Spaniards and then distorted facts. So may mga information sa nga gapit lang sa ilang desired nga outcome. So Antonio de Morag'S wrote the book so he could chronicle the deeds, discovery, conquest, and conversion of the Filipinos by the Spaniards. Also, some fortunes that they have from time to time in the Great Kingdoms and among the pagan people surrounding the island. So, isang nabalaan mo sa lisa nga do ka medyo biased ang libro gisulat ni Antonio de Morag'S, annotate naman ang Succesos de las Islas Filipinas. Jose Rizal was a seeker of truth, marking him as a historian. Rizal had a burning desire to know exactly the conditions of the Philippine Islands when the Spaniards came. He had a theory that the Philippines was already prosperous and self-sufficient before the Spaniards came. So, may theory sa Rizal nga before pa daw nasakop sa Philippines, sa Spaniards ang Philippines, prosperous na kita kag self-sufficient, meaning we can stand on our own na. So then he believed that the conquest of the Spaniards contributed in part to decline of the Philippine rich culture and tradition. So gigapati gisaya nga ang pag-colonize sa aton sa Spaniards, nagpa-decline lang sa katon nga rich culture and traditions. Rizal's personal friendship with Blumentritt provided the inspiration for doing a new edition of Morag'S Succesos. In conclusion, Rizal's annotations of Antonio Morag'S Succesos de las Islas Filipinas had many salient goals, including correcting the historical record, highlighting the achievements of the pre-colonial Filipinos, challenging racist stereotypes, critiquing Spanish colonialism, and inspiring his fellow Filipinos to strive on their own way.
Bright afternoon, everyone. I am Cassandra Allo, and my topic is about Rizal annotation of Morag'S Succesos de las Islas Filipinas. In here, Rizal added a lot of notes to the book, about 639 in total, to explain the things clearly. So, gusto ni Rizal nga ang readers mas intindihan nila Mayo if ma-add siya many notes. And he also pointed out mistakes in spellings and printing. Na-notice niya nga some words printed were wrong and he pointed them out. When the book said Filipinos liked rotten fish, Rizal explained it was actually bagoong, a special food in the Philippines, or like a delicacy. So, gincorrect ni Rizal ang misunderstanding and saying na bagoong is a tasty Filipino food, not rotten fish. And Blumentritt, a friend of Rizal, said the book could fix wrong ideas like Filipinos being thought of as weak and unprepared. So, ang friend ni Rizal nga si Blumentritt, gapati siya nga ang book would help correct unfair ideas about Filipinos. And Rizal argued that Filipinos already had a strong culture and Spanish rule hurt rather than improved it. And Rizal said Filipinos had a great culture before, and ang pag-abot sa mga Spanish did not make it better. Mas ilapagin palala. And Rizal believed Filipinos slowly lost their traditions and started to feel ashamed of their culture because of outside influences. Rizal said Filipinos forgot their old songs, stories, and ideas and began admiring foreign ways, which hurt their pride.
The condition of indigenous people. The Philippines has about 14 to 17 million indigenous peoples, or also known as IPS, from 110 groups, mostly in northern Luzon and Mindanao, although the constitution and laws like the Indigenous Peoples' Rights Act or IPRA protect their rights. IPs still face poverty, discrimination, land loss, and cultural erosion. Armed conflicts worsen their struggles, highlighting the need for stronger support across government and society. The Philippines has a large indigenous populations with approximately 14 to 17 million IPS belonging to 110 groups. Ang Philippines guys is damo na siya mga indigenous populations. Ga-range siya for about 14 to 17 million indigenous peoples nga belong sa 100 different groups. Despite constitutional and legal protection like the Indigenous Peoples' Rights Act (IPRA), IPS continue to face significant challenges including poverty, discriminations, land loss, and cultural erosion. Sa may mga protections na ang IPS guys, like the Indigenous Peoples' Rights Act (IPRA). Pero despite sa ilang protection, damo gyapon ga discriminate sila ha kaya ang ilang mga itsura, ilang panet, kag ilang mga porma kay do hindi sila bilong sa aton ba kay wala pa man sila knowledge about sa outside world kay ano ra man sila ga revolve man sa ilang place o sa ilang lugar. Wala sila gagawa-gawa. Tapos pobre po sila guys kay amuram nila mga obra like farming or mga ano ra tanong ra sa mga foods like vegetables o mga paghunting sa mga wild boar. So damon sila ga discriminate kag pobre po sila. Tapos may mga land loss pa sila kay ginakuha sa gobyerno ilang mga lugar. Tapos cultural erosion o may negative impacts pa sila guys the negative impact of armed conflicts on IPS, highlighting the need for stronger government and societal support to address these issues. The negative impact of armed conflicts, na sila yung mga conflicts sa uban guys nga like magamit sila mga armas o na sila negative impact kay damo man sila mga kontra from other groups pod. Amo na nga need sila og stronger support sa government para ma-address ang mga issues. A decade of assistance. Over the past decade, UNDP has implemented 35 projects focused on indigenous peoples or IPS in the Philippines, assisting 20 ethno-linguistic groups across 12 regions and 21 provinces. Key initiatives include training IP leaders in paralegal skills, leadership, gender sensitivity, and project management, which have enhanced awareness and strengthened community structures. UNDP has implemented 35 projects specifically aimed at assisting IPs across 28 ethno-linguistic groups in 12 regions and 21 provinces. UNDP guys, which means United Nations Development Program, is ga-assist sila sa mga IPs across 28 ethno-linguistic groups in 12 regions and 21 provinces. Sila nag-assist sa mga IPs para mas mo-better ang ilang life. Tapos ang mga UNDP is gina-train nila ang mga IP leaders in paralegal skills, leadership, gender sensitivity, and project management. So ang mga leaders sa mga IPs like sa Tuabe, like ang leader nito di ba karon kay si Bongbong Marcos, sa ilang na sila nga leader kay may grupo-grupo na sila guys. So ang UNDP ginakuha nila ang leader para tudloan sa mga skills sa leadership para mas mapabetter niya nga pag-lead sa iyang group o gender sensitivity para ma-aware siya sa mga gender. Tapos ang project management para ma-manage niya ang iyang group o ang mga project na ilang himuon. O ang kanang effort guys, nag-result na siya na enhance ang awareness o nag-strengthen ang community structures sa demonstrating a commitment to empowering IPs and fostering sustainable development. Ang kanang effort sa UNDP nag-result na siya sa pag-enhance sa awareness sa mga IPs o sa leaders na ma-stronger ang ilang community. Tapos ma-empower pa ang mga IPs para ma-sustain nila ang ilang development throughout the decade.
So hi everyone, I am Gabriel Dibagayo and the topic that assigned for me is a decade of assistance. In partnership with National Commission Indigenous People and supported by New Zealand Agency for International Development, UNDP has empowered IPS to secure the land rights and manage ancestral domains, resulting in the development of sustainable development plans. Additionally, projects have promoted modern conservation techniques and improved disaster preparedness, addressing various community needs and enhancing resources management. Well, this image shows you the highlights of work of United Development Program, or should we say UNDP, in the partnership with National Commission of Indigenous People, or NCIP, the New Zealand Agency for International Development, or NZAID. Over a decade, they have empowered indigenous people, IPS, in the Philippines to secure land rights, manage ancestral domains, and develop sustainable development plans. Additionally, they have promoted conservation techniques and empowered disaster preparedness, addressing various community needs and enhancing resources management. Okay na? Ay, isa na lang. Isa ba? Pwede isa. Model 1 is a new phase of assistant. Mariptanan ako sa explanation. Well, my explanation from a new phase of assistant is The United Nations Development Program, or UNDP, is launching a new program strengthening the indigenous people rights and development of the Philippines from 2010-2011 SIPRD, with support from the Regional Indigenous People Program, or IPPP. The program aims to integrate current response and mainstream indigenous people rights concern across the development of agenda. It will focus on securing IP address, supporting good governance principles, and promoting indigenous peace-building mechanism. The program will be implemented by NCIP in collaboration with IP organization, and will include disregarded data in the National Statistic Office Population Census. UNDP and the UN system are entering a new phase of assistance to IPS, characterized by greater integration between agencies and national response, and increased collaboration at regional and intentional levels. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Denver Pitianan, and this is my part. A decade of assistance. Over the past decade, UNDP, or United Nations Development Program, has implemented 35 projects focused on indigenous people in the Philippines, assisting 28 ethno-linguistic groups across 12 regions and 21 provinces. Key initiatives include training IP leaders in paralegal skills, leadership, gender sensitivity, and project management, which have enhanced awareness and strengthened community structures. Sa unang dekada, ang UNDP, or ang United Nations Development Program, nag-implement 35 projects, which is ga-focus sila sa indigenous people sa Pilipinas. Gina-assist ang 28 ethno-linguistic groups across 12 regions and 21 provinces. Diri gina-training nila ang mga IP leaders sa ilang mga paralegal skills, leadership, gender sensitivity, kung paano mag-manage ang mga projects. Sa diri na enhance ang awareness nila, nagpabakod pagid nila ang ilang mga community structures.
Good day, everyone. I am Christina Carvalho Sabial, and my topic is all about a decade of assistance. In partnership with the National Commission on Indigenous People and supported by the New Zealand Agency for International Development, UNDP has empowered IPs to secure land rights and manage ancestral domains, resulting in the development of 10 Sustainable Development Plans. Additionally, projects have promoted modern conservation techniques and improve disaster preparedness, addressing various community needs and enhancing resource management. So, UNDP stands for United Nations Development Program, and kabulig ni sila sa over 170 countries na mag-develop gamit ang mga modern na techniques. And their goals are to reduce poverty and inequality, build resilience, promote democratic governance, manage natural resources sustainability, adapt to climate change, managing disaster risk, and promote gender equality. So, we all know nga may ari diri mga indigenous people, and kalabanan sa ila kay wala kabalo sa ilang human rights. Kay di ba usay ang iba sa ila kay no read, no write. Tas ang UNDP, amo ni sila ang gabulig sa mga indigenous people para makabalo sila sa ilahang mga rights. So, sa sulod sa isa ka dekada or 10 years, gabulig ang UNDP sa mga indigenous people para makuha nila ang ilang rights para sa ilang mga lands, para pwede nila ma-manage og ang kaning ilang mga ancestral domains, which is ang lands nga panag-iya sa mga indigenous people. So nakabulig pod ang UNDP sa pag-promote sa sa 10 development plans para sa indigenous people community. So ang 10 development plans are the no poverty, the gender equality, clean water and sanitation, reduce inequality within and among, ensure sustainable consumption and production patterns, climate action, quality education, decent work and economic growth, industry innovation and infrastructure, and sustainable cities and communities. So amo na siya ang 10 ka sustainable development plans. So in summarize, ang A Decade of Assistance kay may ara sila partnership, dason land rights, sustainable development plans, conservation, and disaster preparedness. So, in terms of partnership, ang tatlo ni sila ang UNDP, ang National Commission on Indigenous Peoples, and ang New Zealand Agency for International Development. So, nag-isa ni sila para sa ilahang project. And next is the land rights. Nagbulig pud sa aton ang UNDP para magka-knowledge bitaw ang mga indigenous people about sa ilang human rights para sa ilang mga lands. And next is sustainable development. Dire nagbulig pud ang UNDP sa ilang 10 sustainable development plans, which is akong gi-mention kagina. And conservation, sa dire gi-promote sa UNDP ang modern way nga ang modern way nga pag-handle bitaw if may ara mga bagyo or calamities, tas ang modern way pud nga pag-alaga sa aton nga kalikasan. And last is the disaster preparedness. So nagbulig pud ang UNDP sa paghatag pud knowledge sa mga indigenous people kung unsa ang buhaton if ever may mga disaster nga maabot sa ilaha. So disaster preparedness. So bali ang UNDP gabulig lang jud ni sila sa mga indigenous people para sa ilahang mga needs o para pud kabalo bitaw sila sa modern world, kay di ba super left behind naman na sila kay tungod wala sila nakasabay sa ato. Gipadayon jud po nila ang ilahang culture sa sauna. So marato gitabangan sa UNDP ang mga indigenous people para sa makabalo sila unsaon pag-manage sa ilang mga likas na yaman.
Great day, everyone. My name is Morag'S, and here are some reasons why the UNDP, or the United Nations Developmental Program, launched the Strengthening Indigenous Peoples' Rights and Development in the Philippines program, or the SIPRD. Number one is addressing historical injustices. So in the program, it aims to correct past wrongs by protecting the rights of indigenous peoples who have faced marginalization kag pagkawalan sang kadutaan. Number two, mainstreaming indigenous rights. It seeks to ensure that indigenous rights are included in the broader development agenda so their needs are recognized in policies and programs. Number three, promoting good governance. The program focuses on improving governance to empower indigenous communities, helping them participate in decision-making processes. Number four, supporting indigenous peace building. It acknowledges the importance of indigenous-led peace building efforts to foster stability and resolve conflicts with communities. Number five, data-driven decision-making. By including disaggregated data in the national census, the program aims to better understand the demographics and needs of indigenous peoples, leading to more targeted support. Number six, enhanced collaboration. The initiative promotes stronger cooperation between UN agencies and the Philippine government to share resources and best practices for supporting indigenous development. Last is number seven, holistic development approach. It takes a comprehensive view by addressing rights, governance and peace building together, recognizing that these issues are interconnected and essential for sustainable development.
A new phase of assistance. So, traditionally, UNDP's response in the Philippines has been to include local level points that target IP issues in individual projects. However, unlike many discrete development problems, those faced by IPs are truly cross-cutting and require programmatic interventions that span traditional development focal areas. With support from the Regional Indigenous Peoples Program, or RIPP, UNDP is launching a new program called Strengthening Indigenous Peoples' Rights and Development in the Philippines, or SIPRD, that will integrate and build on current responses and help facilitate greater mainstreaming of IP concerns across the development agenda. So UNDP is launching a new program which is Strengthening Indigenous Peoples' Rights and Development in the Philippines, or the SIPRD. This was supported from the Regional Indigenous Peoples Program, or RIPP. This program aims to integrate current responses and mainstream indigenous peoples' rights concerns across the development agenda. So the focus of SIPRD is securing IP rights to the sustainable use, management and protection of ancestral lands, supporting the implementation of good governance principles, and promoting indigenous peace-building mechanisms. This program will be implemented by NCIP in collaboration with IP organizations and will include disaggregated data in the National Population Census. This effort will build a base of data for future IP work by all agencies and NGOs in the Philippines and provide a clearer picture of where interventions are most needed. UNDP and the UN systems are entering a new phase of assistance to IPs, characterized by greater integration between agencies and national responses and increased collaboration at regional and international levels.
Sobre la indolencia de los Filipinos. According to Dr. Rizal, he critiques the stereotype that Filipinos are inherently lazy, arguing instead that indolence was a result of external forces under Spanish rule. So he admits that some societal flaws exist, but asserts they were caused by colonial oppression. So Rizal identifies several root causes. Ano siya ang hardships of constant war, exploitation by Spanish friars, and the abuse of encomienda trade, which limited economic opportunity. For further information, high taxes, government neglect, and the encouragement of gambling and excessive fiesta sa motivation and foster dependence. So, amo na siya ang oppressive condition na nade-deprive sa Filipino sa freedom ang nag-create siya sa cycle of inferiority. Na nag-erode siya para sa self-worth and national pride, which ultimately affected productivity and weakened the sense of purpose of Filipinos.
Bright evening, Miss. I am Jeremy Joshua A. Sanchez, a member of Group 2, which is assigned for the reporting of Lesson 2. And my topic is about the indolence of the Filipino, or so-called La Indolencia de los Filipinos. It is the essay of Rizal that originally appeared in Filipino Forthrightly Review, La Solidaridad of Madrid in 5 installments, running from July 15 to September 15, 1890. It was a continuation of Rizal's campaign of education in which he sought to, by blunt truths to awaken his countrymen to their own faults at the same time that he was arousing the Spaniards to the defects in Spain's colonial system, the cause and continued such shortcomings. Rizal's essay La Indolencia de los Filipinos, published in La Solidaridad from July to September 1890, critiques the perceived laziness of Filipinos under Spanish colonial rule. Rizal argues that this indolence is not inherent but a product of oppressive education and social condition imposed by the colonizer. Bale, gin-highlight ni Rizal sa iyang essay kung paano naapektuhan ang critical thinking sa Filipino by the brutal education system sa nauna nga panahon sang Spanish colony. So through this work, gina-aim ni Rizal na ma-awake ang mind sa Filipino kag sa mga Spanish colony kung unsa ang mga problema sa pag-rule sa government. So through this work, Rizal aimed to awaken both Filipinos and Spaniards to the systematic flaws within colonial governance, advocating for educational reform as a path to national awakening and progress. That's all.
My name is Geraldine Bidukay from BSHM1A. So my topic is National and Endurance of the Filipinos according to Dr. Rizal'S. Education, capable of changing the norms of national behavior, motivation to seek their own economic success, not merely as an individual. Kadua, liberty, free trade both internal and external, free movement of persons and goods, security and freedoms create. Tinungnan ni Dr. Rizal ang isyu na katamaran ng mga Pilipino sa kanyang sanaysay na indolence of the Filipino pamamagitan ng pagbibigay diin sa edukasyon at kalayaan. Bilang pangunahing solusyon, nagtalo siya at nag-edukasyon ay nagbigay ng kapangyarihan sa mga individual na ituloy ang tagumpay sa ekonomiya. Nang sama-sama, nagpapaunlad ng pakiramdam ang pambansang identidad na higit sa pansariling pakinabang. Bukod pa rito, nagtaguyod siya para sa kalayaan na kinabibilangan ng malayang kalakalan at kilusan na nagbibigay daan sa mga Pilipino na umuunlad ng walang mapang-aping mga paghihigpit. Maniniwala si Rizal sa pagdaing ng katamaran ay nangangailangan ng pagtugon sa mga isyong sistema ang nadulot ng kolonyal na paghahari. Sa huli ay nagtaguyod ng mga reforma na nagtataguyod ng mga kalayaang panlipunan at pang-ekonomiya para sa lahat ng mga Pilipino.
Bright morning everyone, my name is John Reven C. Ivardo. My topic is the continuation of part 1. Next is, a man can live in any climate if he will only adapt himself to its requirements and conditions. Kaya daw mabuhay ng tao sa kahit anong klima basta kaya niya mag-adjust or mag-adapt. Next is, working hours of Filipinos or tenants. Tenants is the one who occupies lands or homes versus Spanish official and landlords. Filipino workers, often tenants, typically perform intense physical labor under challenging conditions for long hours. Grabe daw labor nila or hard work, while Spanish officials and landlords live more comfortably and didn't endure the same level of physical toil or the hard work. Next is, tendency to indolence is very natural, which means ang pagkakaroon daw ng katamaran is very natural or likas. Next is, effect of misgovernment, epekto ng masamang pamamahala. That's all. Thank you.
Indolence, misuse in the sense of little love for work and lack of energy. Indolence miss pwede ni sa matawag sa term nga laziness kag slothfulness miss or katamaran in Tagalog. Indolence does not exist in Filipinos. Tungod miss kay kita nga mga Pilipino may determination ta kag drive para ma-achieve aton goal sa kabuhi. Examine the causes based on facts before proposing a remedy. Mutsilingon miss, dapat usisa mo dana yung isa ka bagay paagi sa kamatuoran para ay bago ka mag duso or mag-provide sang lunas. Climate, factor for being indolent. Isa sa factor miss kung nga aga-exist ang indolence miss tungod sa gisabala miss taman kainit, so mas pilion sa mga tao nga magpahuway na lang kaysa mag-obra miss. A hot climate requires of the individual quiet and rest just as cold incites to labor induction. Amo ni sa miss kay kung cold ang panahon miss, parang komportable aton lawas, pero kung init naman miss, ginaapektuhan siya nga aton nga pag-uugali miss muna kaysa to gusto ta na lang magpahuway sa mag-obra.
Wars and conflicts. Continuous conflicts between Spaniards, native Filipinos, and Moros lead to social and economic instability. Pirate invasions. Frequent invasions by pirates resulted in a diminished native population, weakening the community and workforce. Bright day, everyone. This is Solution to the Indolence of the Filipino according to Dr. Rizal. Part 3. Conclusion. The Spanish colonial period in the Philippines resulted in severe hardship for the Filipino people, affecting their social structure, economy, and way of life. The combined impact of wars, forced labor, displacement, and overwhelming challenges they face ultimately lead to a loss of resilience within the Filipino society. This period of colonization and conflict left a lasting legacy on a nation's history, shaping the Filipino identity and resilience seen in later generations. Forced labor by Polo y Servicio. Filipinos were forced to serve in foreign wars or work in Spanish shipyards, which disrupted their local economy and took away their labor resources. Fear and displacement. Many Filipinos fled to forests and mountains due to fear, abandoning their farms and land, which lead to reduced agricultural production. Loss of resilience. Despite their initial resistance, the Filipinos eventually give up due to their overwhelming numbers of enemies and challenges they faced.
So, good day everyone. My name is Karina Salinas, and this is the part 4 of Indolence of the Filipino, or La Indolencia de los Filipinos. Cut-off trading, a practice where a dominant entity such as individual, company, or government restricts or eliminates competitions by limiting access to the markets, resources, or supply chains, effectively controlling prices and production. Monopoly, a market structure where a single entity has a complete control over the production, distribution, and sales of a particular good or services, allowing them to, number 1, set prices without fear of competition. Number 2, limit output to maximize profits. Number 3, exclude competitors from entering the markets. Abuse of landlords or incommodores. Permission to labor or the kasama system. Absence of encouragement from the government. No aid for poor crops. Does not seek market for its products. And the wrong teaching, which is why work if the rich man will not go to heaven. So, diba, it's the wrong teaching, diba? Na nga ama work pa if ang rich man hindi magkadto sa heaven. It's a sign nga dapat hindi mo na yung pagsundan. It's a wrong teaching, you know. It's because In this world, you have to work. You have to work for your own good, for your own future. And false teaching of church, gambling, oh, gambling, promise of sudden wealth. Diba, if magsugal ka ng mataya ka, kay abi mo kung magsugal ka, mayara chance nga madaog ka, diba? So, promise of sudden wealth. Sudden wealth ng arang mga banggaranon ka lang dayon. Wala may banggaranon, diba? Sa like sa dali lang nga paagi. Tang magbanggaranon ka, it's because pinaghirapan mo. Gin dugot pawis mo, ganon. And the discrimination on education. And lastly, Spaniards insisted to Filipinos. That's all. Thank you.
Bright morning, everyone. I am Stephanie Rabadomia, and today I will discuss you the part 5 of our topic. Causes of indolence can be reduced through factors. First, limited training education of Filipino native developed inferiority. Filipinos do not receive the same opportunities that are available to the foreigners, kay ang Filipino gituluan sila nga maging inferior, gituluan sila sa Spanish nga maging inferior. The second one is lack of national sentiment of unity among them. A man in the Philippines is only an individual, he is not member of nation. Because Filipinos think that they are inferior, they submit to the foreign culture and do everything to intimidate it.